Welcome board to this week's version of Covestic's CMDB ITOM chat. As usual, I'm Scott Trumbull, the leader of our ITOM ITX division here at Covestic. With me on these chats, you're going to have members of my team, and we're going to be sharing with you what we've learned along the way. We're going to be talking about our favorite features in ServiceNow related to ITOM. We're going to be talking about how you keep your CMDB healthy, how you measure your CMDB health, how this ties into your ITSM processes, and everything you ever wanted to know about CMDB, ITOM, and we'll be talking about here over the next few weeks. So I know, Larry, you were on today and you were really excited and you wanted to talk about some of the considerations. We talked about data manager and, whether we use test rules or whether we use cleanup rules or things from data managers, which kind of drives, is the CI valid? Is the CI good? At a holistic record level, is the CI what we want in there? But I know you've been working a lot with data certification to take a look at the real values that are in a CI, that certification validating the correctness of specific fields, not just whether it's filled or not. So, and I know you wanted to talk about some of the considerations in that. So we'll take a minute, we'll turn the floor over to you and let you get started.
Yes, thank you, Scott. I have been working on some projects with some of our key customers around CMDB considerations for their certifications. For regulatory or procedural reasons, information in the CMDB requires checks continually for accuracy and certification. The person or team responsible for certification, they can define what information is required and what the verification schedules might be. The schedules then generate a checklist of verifying the data, and individuals assigned to certification tasks will answer a series of questions to verify that data. But before all of that, there's a lot of considerations that should take place around what the scope might be or process and governance. For instance, for certification scope, how many CIs are we dealing with? What are the classes that are in scope? How many is too many? We like to start small and end big with some of these projects, right? So for certification scope, for instance, things like how many CIs or classes are in scope, how many is too many, and how often do you certify? What would be the schedules and the cadence of those certifications? Next up is process and governance. So processes around what happens if there are CIs with no clear owners, or maybe there's certifications that are past due. What are the escalation paths and follow-ups that take place? What is the process for new CIs that are coming into CMDB? Are they certified right away? Or are they putting into schedules to be processed later? Also, architecture and design considerations. There may be a number of integrations that are feeding CMDB. And what are those and how do they impact the certification process? The UI and user experiences are very critical for this, as there may be lots of tasks that are generated for users to go take actions. Making that UI experience good for them is overall good for the process itself. And performance considerations. We talked a little bit about certification scope earlier, about how many CIs or classes were involved. Well, that scope also has to be considered for what the impact of performance would be for your ServiceNow instance. Schedules, notifications, escalations. There's a lot of communications too that get generated throughout the process. Who gets those notifications and when do they get them? And what are the escalation notifications and how is that derived to be built within the solution? And finally, reporting and measurements. Is there proactive versus reactive certifications that need to take place? And how many of those? Is there a certification scorecard that's used by the organization? And how is that implemented? So as you can see, there are a lot of considerations that need to be thought through, discussed, and planned by your organization before you really get deep into implementing your certification process.
Hey, thanks everybody for joining here today. It was exciting to have you here. It's exciting to hear from the team. We got to talk about that initial feature and how we can leverage multi-source CMDB for our data federation and seeing it in the database CMDB 360. Coming back next week and the weeks after, we're going to have discussions about, Larry's going to be talking about the considerations with data certification. We're going to be talking about using the data manager. That's a fantastic new feature and how we can leverage that. And we'll have Scott Robinson coming in to talk about what he feels is one of the most underutilized tools available out of the box with ServiceNow, and that's the certificate management and how to avoid all those service interruptions when your certificate goes out of date. So we're excited to have you back. We got a lot to talk about over the next coming weeks. So we'll see you next time on the same ITOM channel.